Hello and welcome back to another live stream on high altitude investing. Today is the 24th of October. Super excited to be doing a stream today. So let's get the link shared and we'll get started on today's live stream here on YouTube. Hope you guys are having a good Friday. Let's get this link shared. Hope you guys are enjoying a little bounce here on crypto because we are getting a little bit of a bounce right now. So that's nice. All right. Okay, shared the link on X and on Discord, so we should be good to get started here. Sleeping Korean guy, what is up? Thank you for tuning in to today's live stream. MKE Gage, hey buddy, what is up? Thank you for tuning in. Operation Shutdown, hello Dallin, I'm enjoying the bounce. Nice, cool. So let's talk about Bitcoin first. So we have Bitcoin here, and let's go. We'll stay on the daily candlesticks, but I'll redraw the Elliott waves here and show you a little bit about what I'm seeing here on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is an expanded flat correction. At least that's what appears to be forming on the daily candlesticks, is an expanded flat correction. So we have wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, wave 5 here on Bitcoin. And then we have our ABC. So wave A, wave B, and wave C, just like that. And in fact, if we go to a little bit of a bigger, there we go, then you can see the Elliott waves more clearly. So this is an expanded flat correction. Let's type in expanded flat and pull up a classic example here of an expanded flat Elliott wave. So this is what they look like right here, and this is what we are seeing on Bitcoin. So essentially inside of an expanded flat you have an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. But the B wave actually goes up above the top of wave 0. So this is wave 0 right here. And you actually go up above the top of wave 0. Wave 0 also coincides with the top of wave 5. So if I click on this Elliott wave right here, you'll see that there's a little 0 up here at the top. That's the technically the 0 point on the Elliott waves. And then you have A, B, and C. So it starts off on 0, and 0 coincides with the top of wave 5 right here. Then you have A, B, and C. Okay, so that's an expanded flat. It's expanded because the B wave goes up above the top of the 5th wave, or wave 0. So that's why it's an expanded flat, is because of that pump up above the top of wave 5. Now, there's a couple kind of key identifiers for the expanded flat correction. That's ABC subwaves and 5 waves down. So if we look right here, what we can do, we'll delete all these circles really fast. And we'll take a look at the subwaves. So from the top of wave 5 down to the bottom of wave A, if you look at this graph, you can see A, B, and C in between wave 0 and wave A. So if we take our Elliott wave tool here, we can count wave A, wave B, and wave C. So we'll make these submicro, this one, submicro. Cool. So you can see here, in between the top of wave 0, right here, or wave 5 down to the bottom of wave A, there's an ABC correction down. Then you have an ABC correction up from the bottom of wave A to the top of wave B. You can see right here, A, B, and C. So if you look here, we have A, B, and C. All right, so there's our ABC subwave up here. Now from the top of wave B down to the bottom of wave C, we're going to have 5 waves down again. So let's zoom in here a little bit. Or we're going to have 5 waves down from B to C, not again, because we haven't had any 5-wave structure inside of this correction yet. We had 5 waves up leading to the correction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. But inside of the subwaves, we haven't counted any 5-wave impulse yet. So here's our 5-wave impulse right here. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Okay? And we'll make this a submicro Elliott wave. So this is from A to B to C, we have 5 waves down, right? From the B wave to C wave, we have our 5-wave down, and we have ABC subwaves from the top of wave 0 down to the bottom of wave A, from the bottom of wave A to the top of wave B, ABC subwaves. But we have a 5-wave impulse down from B to C. So essentially, that's an expanded flat correction. That's what this is on Bitcoin. And so what we're looking at here is we're looking at a bullish reversal, just in the same way that if you have an ABC correction, you're looking for a bullish reversal at the bottom of that regular zigzag correction. You're looking for a bullish reversal at the bottom of that ABC zigzag. With an expanded flat, you're also looking for a bullish reversal at the bottom of an expanded flat correction. So that's my view on Bitcoin. We formed an expanded flat correction here. We are looking ready for a bullish reversal off of the bottom of 103,000 per coin based on that expanded flat Elliott wave. And I believe we are headed up towards a new all-time high still on Bitcoin. Contrary to popular belief, contrary to what a lot of people are talking about, that expanded flat correction leaves me to believe that we are headed to a new local high, well, technically all-time high on Bitcoin. Let's see here. John Cook says, hi from Colorado Springs. Well, thank you for tuning in on this beautiful Friday morning. Sleeping Korean Guy says, please review and recap T-Drop, brother. Yeah, let's do that right now. I don't know if you saw on my X account that I posted about T-Drop just the other day on my X account. So if you don't follow me on X, it's a good place to go follow me if you're looking for additional free content. I'll post on here. Some days I don't make a video. Some days I don't do a live stream. So I hop over here on my X account and generally will post stuff, a lot of free content here on X. So high altitude INV. And over here I do have a T-Drop update comparing it to Cardano. So if you don't know about the way markets work and the psychology in markets, markets do repeating fractals. So let's pull up T-Drop here. And we'll go on the 10-day candlesticks. And we'll pull up Cardano over here on the right. Basically, markets do the same thing. So Cardano is a really good example of a market cycle. We have T-drop over here on the left, and we have Cardano over here on the right. Cardano is a good example of a cycle that has a long, painful bear market that everybody sells. The cycle looks like it's going to go down forever, and then you get a bullish reversal. So that's what Cardano looks like over here on the right. That big correction, painful, brutal. People sell, they freak out, but really it does a big bullish reversal. And the other reason I like Cardano as an example of one of these cycles is the fact that Cardano does one more lower low. So we have a big correction right here, but it makes a false bottom and goes for one more lower low. And in fact, if you pull up Ethereum is the same fractal, the difference being that it did not make a lower low. So if you look at Ethereum here, same thing, right? Same big, painful, brutal drop in price. If we look at Cardano on the linear, the regular chart, they look really similar, don't they? Let's stretch these charts out a little bit here. You know, Cardano looks pretty similar to Ethereum. So it's the same kind of pattern. The difference being I like the Cardano example because sometimes you do get one more lower low right here where price breaks below what most people believe is the bottom, shakes everybody out of the market or a lot of people, then goes for a big bullish run. So sometimes this happens. That's why Cardano is such a useful fractal to go look at, because sometimes you get that one more painful, brutal lower low. Whereas on Ethereum, we didn't get that. We just had a double bottom, right? Double bottom. It didn't break below this level here. So both these examples are useful to be aware of, because sometimes you get the Cardano example where you get one more lower low. Sometimes you get the Ethereum example where the market double bottoms. In the case of T-drop, let's pull up T-drop now. In the case of T-drop, we have that lower low. We have our low right here. And we break below that level for one more lower low, just like what happened to Cardano over here. So cycles, they do the same thing. You see the same structure in these markets repeating itself. There's just different versions of that same emotion that takes place in the markets. Subtle differences, but they're different enough that it's important to be aware of the different scenarios so that when one happens, you don't get lost in the sauce, right? You're able to buy the dip, or you don't panic sell because normally you would have panic sold. Instead, you make the right choice. So that's my view on T-drop, is that T-drop is essentially right here in terms of where it's at in its cycle. This brutal final sell-off where it makes one more lower low, where people's general consensus is going to be pretty bearish. There's going to be a lot of FUD at that point in the cycle. But that's where I believe we're at, where we make a big reversal and we start to climb back up to prices where we have been historically. I'm a big fan also, but I'm from Houston. Well, thank you for tuning in from Houston, Texas. If you think Bitcoin is ever going under 100K, man, stop investing now. It's not happening, but good luck to you. So, Felix, let's look at Bitcoin. Kind of address what you're talking about here. Do I think Bitcoin is going to fall under 100K? Probably not. This is a pretty big support level right here on Bitcoin. It probably won't in the immediate future fall below 100K. But I will say that you have to be careful with statements like that, because I've made those statements before. So, while I agree with your analysis that it's very unlikely Bitcoin falls below 100K, I have made statements like that in the past. The market panic sells, even just a bullwhip. Sometimes you'll get like a bullwhip like this, where the price breaks down but then comes back up like instantly to where it almost didn't even go lower, because of how fast it recovered. It almost didn't even happen. So you just have to be careful. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But if you have a liquidation at 100K, these are some of the things you have to think about, because, markets can surprise you. So, but yeah, I don't personally believe Bitcoin will go under 100K. Paul 2B, what is up, Dallin? Have a wrapped week. Well, thank you, Paul. Hope you guys are enjoying the bullishness that we've been seeing on Wrapped Dog. His Wrapped Dog has started to recover off of these lows and start to show strength. We are seeing a lot of reasons to believe the Wrapped Dog will do a big W bottom here and really start to take off. Trump breaks your TA every time. So the markets, actually what I've been paying attention to is a lot of times I'll have a certain thesis on the market, like it's going to go up, it's going to break out, we're going to have a big bull market or a big run, and Trump will say something and then it'll basically be the catalyst to make what I was kind of already seeing in the charts come true. So it is interesting to have a president that's pro-crypto. That's a good thing for the crypto industry. I'm blessed and thankful to be part of this emerging market. Sleeping Korean guy, of course I follow you on X, bro. Well, thank you. I appreciate the follow. Mike Gage, or MKE Gage, your technical analysis is spot on. If this market proves you right, I'm going to fly to Utah and take you and your dad fishing. That'd be cool. I love fishing, so. Anton Green, for alt season, it would need BTC pump first, which will rise the Bitcoin dominance. Therefore, we should expect alts, not all, to bleed before the rotation, and hopeful alt season. Agree? Alt pain first, terrifying. So, okay, so actually what's interesting about your little statement there is a point where Bitcoin dominance shifts, where even though Bitcoin is going up in value and Bitcoin is increasing in value, there is a point where Bitcoin dominance shifts. So what do I mean by that? Basically, what I mean by that is there is a point in the cycle where Bitcoin continues to increase in value, but the altcoins actually take over in terms of dominance. So actually there is a point in the cycle where Bitcoin starts to increase in value, but altcoins are moving faster. So yeah, to answer your question, will altcoins have another bleed? It looks to me like the bleed just happened. Like the bloody capitulation that everybody was kind of looking for is what just happened in the altcoin markets. Whether you're looking at Dogecoin on the linear chart here, and you see that Dogecoin, let's look somewhere other than Coinbase because it technically made a lower low on Binance. There we go. Right, people thought the bottom of Dogecoin was right here, but we had one more big bleed. one more big bloody move. So this to me looks like that final blood that you're talking about, where altcoins bleed off and Bitcoin dominance is held, either holds up or doesn't fall off a cliff because altcoins had a bigger drop. That's basically what we just saw happen right here. Bitcoin dominance did pretty good. A lot of altcoins had big bloody sell-offs. That's kind of what you're looking at when you're looking for capitulation, Anton. So it's possible, 100% possible, that we already had that big bloody capitulation that you're talking about on the altcoins, that it's already happened and that we're not going to have another one. In which case, this is probably a rising wedge on Bitcoin dominance right here, part of a bearish continuation, just like we had a rising wedge up here that led to a big crash in Bitcoin dominance. This could be a rising wedge that we're seeing currently on Bitcoin dominance, which could lead to a big crash on Bitcoin dominance. Not to say that Bitcoin would crash, Bitcoin would actually go up, but the altcoins would be going up faster. So that's 100% possible for that to happen, for us not to have another big sell-off in altcoins, but the idea that altcoins have already had that big sell-off, that big bloody final capitulation that people are looking for. You can even see it here with theta as we broke below our low right here and went for a big painful sell-off. If you look at the percentages, that's actually a 77% drop. I know it looks kind of small in comparison to this drop right here, but just from right here to right here is a 77% drop. So that's a pretty big capitulation, a pretty big blood, pretty big sell-off on the altcoin markets. So just something to consider, Anton. We could have already had that big bloody capitulation that people are looking for. If you look at the charts, it looks like it already happened. John Skimansky, John Skimansky. I think that's how you say your name. How about Aether and Theta collab? So I actually didn't know they collaborated. I think I've heard something about it, but I don't know a lot about it. The Theta community will probably get mad at me for saying this, but to be honest with you guys, fundamentals is something I don't do a lot of daily research on. I don't go study all of the fundamental changes that are happening on these projects because my analysis is predominantly technical. I've been incorporating more fundamental analysis into what I do, but it's not a primary focus of mine. The primary focus is technical analysis. But I can look at the Aether chart for you and take a little bit of a peek at the analysis for this coin. So if we look at this coin here, we do have a correction. We do have an ABC correction, pretty clear. Wave A, wave B, and wave C down. Then we have our bullish Elliott waves here, wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. So that's a pretty typical 5-wave impulse followed by an ABC correction. In fact, it's just the exact same thing that happened right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, and C. Same thing. So essentially what we have here is we have a bullish cycle followed by a bearish cycle followed by a bullish cycle followed by a bearish cycle. So we're kind of at the bottom of a bearish cycle. So this is a good area to be picking up this coin in terms of its immediate cyclical action here. And if we take a look at our indicators, predominantly the MACD, because that's the one that I use, we're actually more oversold than we've ever been here on the daily for this coin, for Aether. Aether? Oh, man. I'll have to look up how to pronounce that. But it's super, super, super oversold here in terms of the MACD. It looks really good. You guys know I'm a huge theta bull, big on theta, big on T-drop, big on T-fuel, all of the whole theta network. I'm a big bull. See big things coming for that whole ecosystem. So if this partnered with theta, that alone is a good thing. And the chart looks really good in terms of being oversold, in terms of immediate cyclical action, being undervalued in the short term Elliott waves. It looks nice. Matt Osty says smash those likes. And yeah, I would agree with him. I appreciate every person that hops on these live streams and takes some time to smash up those likes, to support me, to give me love and appreciation. It means a lot to me, you guys. BitSource AML Solutions Consulting says, about to become a Mason, any advice for a new brother? So if you're taking the path, the journey of Freemasonry, and you're embarking on this wonderful journey that sounds like you're starting, some things to keep in mind. Don't join the fraternity to try to gain social prestige or status or anything like that. That's a pretty big, obvious one. Join it to learn something, to serve people, to become a better man, to practice good morality, honest principles, those kinds of things. A lot of people will join because they want to, have influence or power or status and those types of things. And that's not a good reason to become a member. So that would be my first tip of advice. Another tip would be to serve as much as you can. All the opportunities that you're able to go to that aren't taking away from your family, from your religion, your, any of those things, whatever you're able to actually attend, to serve your brothers, to spend time with your brothers, to serve your fellow man. Do as much as you can to attend those activities, and also be patient with your brothers. Not everybody's there for the same reason. Some people want to join Masonry to have like a group of friends, kind of like a social club. Other people want to join to gain knowledge, to gain understanding and wisdom. So people have different reasons. So just respect and honor the fact that people are going to be there for different reasons, and not everybody is going to be there for the same reasons that you are. So to give them enough space to be the kind of Mason they want to be. But overall, I'd say just, have a strong desire to serve, to learn, to grow as much as possible, to apply the principles, to understand the symbols, and Masonry will do what it's meant to do, which is to take you as a person and make you a better person. I can promise you that it will do that. Sleeping Korean guy says, we love you, family. We love you, Dallin. Well, thank you. MKE Gage, is it possible for T-Fuel to get to $30 by 2030? $30 by 2030? Let's go look at the chart. That's a pretty... Let's just see, okay? It's got to be it's on Binance. There we go. $30 by 2030. Whew. Let's see here. Let's go for the most absolutely mega bullish, like the dollar gets replaced. Everything that could possibly go wrong for fiat money goes wrong, and everything that could possibly go right for crypto goes right. let's kind of look at it from that perspective, and we'll see what the maximum target by 2030 could be. Okay. Pull up BTC. And put it on the linear chart here, the regular linear chart. And we'll go to the 15-day here. Take a look here. So if we measure targets on Bitcoin, and then we measure targets for T-Fuel, our target on Bitcoin for a 2017 like run, for a big bull market like we saw in 2017, our target for Bitcoin was the 16618 Fibonacci extension. From the bottom of the cycle to the top and back down to the bottom, it went all the way to the 16618 of its last cycle. So measuring the height of the last cycle, it did 16 times the height of its previous cycle, extended 16 times. Now, if we look at T-Fuel, and if it does a 2017 like Bitcoin run, which is, this is if everything goes wrong for the dollar, fiat money just becomes useless, replaced, obsolete, and Bitcoin and crypto does really well, then that would be this target for T-Fuel, right? The 16618 is $10, not $30. And I could see us hitting $10 if we have an uber crazy bullish run. Again, we're talking fiat gets replaced by crypto, or at least mainly replaced. If we get true mass adoption for the crypto markets, I could see $10 per T-Fuel by 2030. If it runs like how Bitcoin did, like this, like a 2017 like run where we get essentially a mass adoption move with crypto, then yeah, I could see $10, $11 by 2030. $30 by 2030, that's a little too bullish for me personally. But, you know, each their own. A lot of people have different perspectives. I've seen different YouTubers saying different reasons that they could see $30 or more. Really high targets for a lot of coins I've seen people do. So, you know, if, for example, like if T-Fuel, if theta, if the whole theta ecosystem became a household name, if theta became a big company like how Apple or Microsoft or any of those, or Nvidia became a big company, if that was to happen to theta, to T-Fuel, to T-Drop, the whole theta ecosystem, then it would pass other coins in market cap and it could go higher than $10. But we're talking about it taking the market cap of other altcoins as well as taking the market cap of fiat money at that point too. In order to have a market cap that big, you'd have to essentially take over a lot of different sectors in order for a market cap to get that high. Fanta says, oh my Dallin, oh my Dallin, oh my Dallin Valentine. What the heck? Oh, man. When I say I love you guys, I appreciate you at the end of every video. I'm not talking about trying to be your Valentine, you guys. I have other prospects for that. Oh, man. Patu G says, Venture AI token, please. Thanks, Dallin. Love your channel. Oh, man. It's not even Valentine's Day, you guys. We've got a while before that happens. So, back to what I was talking about at the start of this live stream, where basically there's two examples of a market cycle for the crypto markets. You have the cycle where you get a lower low, where the market goes for one more lower low, and then you have the cycle like Ethereum where it double bottoms. So just to show that one more time, let's pull up Bitcoin. Cardano, not Bitcoin. So Cardano is an example where the market goes for one more lower low, right? It goes for one more slightly lower low than what it was doing before before the actual bottom, right? So there's a false bottom, and then it goes for one slightly lower low, and that's the true bottom. So if we look at Cardano, that's a really good example of one where you go for one more lower low, right? Here is our first low here, and here is our lower low right here, slightly lower low. Now, if we pull up Ethereum did the same thing as Cardano, same thing, except it did not go for a lower low. It just went for a higher low. So we have the same big correction, the same brutal thing, but it went for a higher low. So here's our low, then we have a higher low. The reason I'm showing you this is because a lot of altcoins right now are Cardano. A lot of altcoins did the Cardano fractal where they made one more slightly lower low. Instead of the Ethereum fractal, which we see sometimes, a lot of altcoins did the Cardano fractal where they made a lower low. And if you look at Venture Mind AI, which I believe that's the one you wanted me to look at, let me double check. Venture AI token. Is Venture AI and Venture Mind AI the same thing? It's got to be the same thing. Essentially, Venture Mind AI did the same thing that Cardano did. You have a big, brutal bear market, a big correction, scares everybody. Then you have one more slightly lower low. Right here on Cardano, and right here on Venture Mind AI. But it's the same thing. It's the same point in the cycle, the same point where people get afraid, the same point where people panic sell, same point where 99% of the market is going to be bearish. That's where Venture Mind AI is right now and where Cardano was in March of 2020. Same point in the cycle. So don't be surprised if we start to make a higher high, higher low pattern, and if that starts to happen, then really don't be surprised if we go vertical off of the lows here, because that's exactly what happens if you start to make a higher high, higher low pattern after a big bear market, after a big correction. Once you start to go vertical, it just blows people away. It goes straight vertical. There's nothing stopping it. And that really happens right after you make that higher high, higher low pattern that we see here on Cardano right here, where it starts making higher highs and higher lows after that final bottom. Then once it does that for a minute, then it goes straight vertical. So if we start to make higher highs and higher lows here on Venture Mind AI, it's probably going to go vertical. It's probably going to do what Cardano did right here, where it goes vertical. But first, watch for that higher high, higher low pattern off of these lows, because this is a typical reversal pattern and structure for crypto to do that. Bricaz0613 says, that's why I watched Alan when everybody when everybody's panic selling and everyone is depressed. He puts out videos so everybody can keep their head screwed on straight. Lol, put those emotions to the side. Yeah, I try to, especially when things are scary, when the markets are going down, I do try to do my best to keep people clear-minded, to keep people from getting fearful, to keep people from panic selling. The worst thing is to see people panic sell their crypto right before a big pump, right before the markets see a big, massive profitable move, because everybody gets scared, they panic sell, and that's the worst thing, to see people sell before those kinds of pumps. So I try to keep people as educated as possible, try to share with people what I'm seeing in the markets to help avoid anybody panic selling before those big pumps. Light Clothed says, yo. Well, what is up, Rashim? Good to see you tuning in, my friend. Tiny Lens tells, is the Mayer multiple chart giving in extended super cycle vibes for patient holders? Yeah, these charts are giving extended super cycle vibes to me. Pretty much all of the altcoins are, even Bitcoin, in terms of the big picture trend. It's a massive uptrend, ramping up for something that could be big. It could be like how Apple took off, you know. Just study markets that became big. Apple became the biggest company in the entire US stock market, right? It became the biggest market valuation. So if you want to get an idea of what things look like before they go crazy, go look at something like Apple, you know. When it comes to Bitcoin, so not only are the altcoins giving super extended cycle vibes, super cycle, extended cycle, whatever you want to call it, vibes, but also Bitcoin itself is still giving that impression. So pulling up Bitcoin here on Coinbase, to me, Bitcoin looks early still. If you look at Apple on the left and Bitcoin over here on the right, and you just kind of study these two charts, and here's Apple before Apple really went parabolic, you know, really became a big company, became the biggest company in the entire world in terms of market cap in the US stock market. I believe it's still Apple. Before that happened, well, it looked kind of like Bitcoin. Looked pretty similar to Bitcoin in a lot of ways. And just looking at the volume, looking at the conditions, what happened in terms of history with Apple being a new technology, computers and all of the innovation that Apple did, and Bitcoin and crypto being a new technology that's innovating and changing the world. In terms of what's happening in history, it's pretty similar. In terms of the chart, it's pretty similar. So, yeah, we are giving super cycle vibes. Super cycle, extended cycle, whatever you want to call it, that's exactly what we're giving right now. Is that's what the charts look like. That's the impression that the market is giving. I have a new token for you, Dallin, the Grays token, PTGC on Pulse Chain. I've actually seen that token before, and I have done analysis on it before. I know a lot of people are bullish on it. Essentially, if you're bullish on Pulse Chain, a lot of the Pulse Chain ecosystem is going to follow Pulse Chain. It's the nature of these markets to follow their liquidity providers. Bitcoin is essentially the liquidity provider for the entire crypto market. So as Bitcoin goes full force, that's when you see the alt season happen. Every cycle is actually when Bitcoin is going max bullish, is when alt season happens. And so, yeah, if you're bullish on Pulse Chain, that's going to be the liquidity provider for a lot of projects on Pulse Chain. Tiny Lens Tells says liked and subscribed. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Justin Landtrip says looks even more bullish than Apple because those corrections are larger on the leg up post 2022. Let's see here. Post 2022. Oh, I see what you're saying. These corrections right here are bigger than they were right here. Yeah, they are bigger. They're very similar, though, which is one of the reasons why every time these corrections happen, I've been looking at this Apple Bitcoin comparison for quite some time now, and every time these corrections have happened, I've remained bullish, partially because of the way that markets move. When you start these big uptrends, yeah, you're going to have some big corrections, but you're also going to have lots of little ones that just lead to more continuation. And these corrections are bigger than what happened on Apple, but these corrections, these 3 recent corrections, are smaller than what's typical for crypto in terms of big corrections, right? I was looking at the Apple comparison and looking at the gold comparison on Bitcoin and was able to maintain my bullish convictions all through this period, and we just kept going higher after every correction. And I believe we're going to see the same thing all over again. Right here, this correction, and this correction right here, it's the same thing. It looks the same to me. And so everybody's bearish now, everybody's calling for lower lows. I think we're going to see the same thing all over again, where the market goes higher, goes up, breaks out, starts to take off, starts to build momentum, just like what we saw at the bottom right here and the bottom right here when everybody was bearish both times, and we maintained our bullish convictions and the market kept pushing higher. I think we're going to see all of that all over again. Justin Landtrip says feels super compressed, ready for massive expansion. It does feel very compressed. A lot of the altcoins have been held down for a very long time. They're starting to break out. Imagine a soda can. If you shake a soda can like a whole bunch, build up all this pressure, and then you finally start to pop that cap. Imagine the pressure that gets released. That's kind of like what happens in these markets to the altcoins and their big picture accumulations that they form. It's like a soda can getting shaken up inside of a big range or inside of a big correction for a really long time. And although it just looks like a big crash to most people, or it looks like sideways movement for a long time to most people, and it doesn't really look that exciting, it's actually building up pressure. And when that lid pops, then you really get that big bullish breakout that's so exciting and so profitable. So it does look compressed. It does look held down. Bitcoin looks a little bit more mature, a little bit more just going full force in a bull market. But if you look at something like Litecoin is a perfect example of a market that looks heavily compressed, heavily held down. And when that pressure is released, it's going to be really exciting. Let's look at NVIDIA here. If you look at NVIDIA when it did the same thing the Litecoin's doing right now, all this time right here was like NVIDIA getting shaken up in a soda can. It was held down, it was compressed, it was held back, whatever you want to call it, held down. Then finally, that soda can lid, that tab on the top of that can got pressed, and the pressure released, and you can see what happened to NVIDIA was astonishing, just beautiful, amazing for anybody holding this coin or the stock. I mean, they made a lot of money, and I believe we're going to see the same thing in the altcoins very soon, where we have a big parabolic run on the altcoin markets because they've been compressed, they've been held down for so long. Jerry Duramus says, what do you think about Linea coin? Don't know. I've never seen Linea coin in my life, but I'll pull up the chart and check it out. So we do have a correction here on this coin, Linea. We have a pretty big correction. It got added to an exchange, fell all the way down to 0.008 cents. So this is on Coinbase. If something's on Coinbase, that can be a good sign for that project. It shows there's probably going to be institutional liquidity, because when something gets added to an exchange like Coinbase, they themselves have to accumulate that project in order to essentially have liquidity for all of their customers buying and selling that coin. So, for example, if, say, theta was to get added to Coinbase, all right? Theta gets added to Coinbase. Coinbase now has to buy a large sum of theta tokens in order to have liquidity on their exchange for people like you and me to go buy theta tokens or sell them at their own free will and accord. So that's basically the way that works. So when something gets added to Coinbase like this project did, that can be a really good thing. Now, when there's bullish news, a lot of times you'll get a bearish reaction. Not always, but sometimes you do. So I bet that people were excited about this getting added to Coinbase. It pumped a little bit right at the start, but then crashed really hard because people sell the news. So what you'd probably see here soon is we're going to bottom out at some point soon. If we look at it compared to Bitcoin, so if we pull up Bitcoin here and compare on the 45-minute, compare recent price action, if we line up this right here is the 10th is right here on Bitcoin. Right here is the 10th, and here's the 10th on Linea. So if we're just lining these charts up here, it's pretty much following Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin had a big crash right here. Linea had a big crash. Bitcoin had another crash here. Linea had another crash. It's basically following Bitcoin. So watch for Bitcoin to bottom out like this. Watch for some type of bottom structure to form here on Bitcoin. If we do hold our support here on Bitcoin, Linea is likely to hold support here and go higher. You guys know I am bullish on Bitcoin, so I'm expecting it to hold support. So I'd be expecting Linea to find a bottom soon as well. Justin Landtrip says, seems like some 12 waves in BTC are stacked. Oh, 1-2 waves. 1-2 waves. Yeah, you'd have to show me your chart for me to exactly determine what you're talking about. That way I could determine whether you got your Elliott wave count right or not. By the way, if you guys ever want to, feel free. I have an email address, highaltitudeinvesting@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me an email with your charts if you've done analysis and you want somebody to look it over and see if the Elliott waves are right, or all of those kinds of things. Feel free to send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to look at your chart and tell you, hey, this looks good, this looks bad. You did this right, you did that wrong. So feel free to do that. Operation Shutdown says, what's your thoughts on the silver market? I am a big silver guy. I have been for a long time. Big silver guy, big Bitcoin or a gold guy, big Bitcoin guy too. I've always been big on crypto, but I've always been bullish on commodities, specifically silver and gold. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Let's pull up our indice here. There we go. Here we are. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the reasons that I'm so bullish on silver has been the market cycle. Essentially the chart. Have been bullish on silver basically when I first found it. Well, when I first started looking at the charts in 2017. So I had been doing a lot of analysis on crypto, on Bitcoin, and all of the crypto markets all through 2015. I even started in 2014, but from 2014, 2015, and 2016, I had been doing a lot of cryptocurrency analysis, learning about the charts, getting excited about the crypto markets, falling in love with technical analysis, right? But by the time 2017 came around, I was really, really heavily into charting and analysis and learning how to predict these markets and make money on the movement in these markets and all that stuff, right? So I really started to look at the silver chart, especially in 2017. And the reason I bring this up is because as you get good at technical analysis, what you're going to find that those tools that you've been learning are applicable to multiple markets. It's not just silver, it's not just Bitcoin, it's not just gold, it's silver, Bitcoin, gold, oil, Forex. You can chart anything. If you understand the rules of technical analysis, you can chart any market in the entire world. You really can, whatever you want to look at. So I started to look at silver and got excited about silver, especially down here in 2017, because it looked exactly like when I had first gotten into Bitcoin. So interestingly enough, all of the skills that I'd learned in the crypto markets were applicable to the silver and gold markets just as much as they were to the crypto and Bitcoin markets. So let's pull up Bitcoin here. And I just want to show you here that when I first got into Bitcoin was in 2015. I'd been looking at it in 2014. First bought my first Bitcoin in 2015. And this is what Bitcoin looked like in 2015. Okay, here's Bitcoin on the right, and here is silver on the left. So when I saw silver in 2017, the first thing I thought of was, hey, that looks exactly like Bitcoin when I first got into Bitcoin. Silver looks like a bigger, longer, bigger market cap, bigger chart in terms of time. It looks like a bigger version of Bitcoin. And that's exactly what has happened since 2017, since I compared Bitcoin and the bottom that formed on Bitcoin here in 2015 to silver over here in 2017. Since I looked at these two charts and compared them just like this, by the way, silver was worth, let's see here. Silver was worth $16 per ounce when I first did this comparison of Bitcoin and silver. First started looking at this. So I was bullish on silver because of an ABC correction down here in 2017. Looking at it, comparing it to Bitcoin, saying, hey, this looks exactly like when I first got into Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was worth $180. This is the same story all over again. And sure enough, silver since then has pumped all the way to a new all-time high, right? It's starting to follow the same big rounded bottom. The Bitcoin followed. So I think this is really just the start for silver. Bitcoin did have a fairly big correction as it started to break above its old all-time high. You can see Bitcoin did fall back 33% right there. So silver could pull back a little bit more in the short term. I don't know for sure. But all dips would be for buying right here. All dips, just like all the dips were for buying on Bitcoin, all the dips on silver are also for buying. This is just getting started for the silver markets. If you want to make a lot of money on the commodity markets, silver is a good place to start because it's like buying Bitcoin right here before Bitcoin went to the moon in 2017, all the way not only to a new all-time high, but to a new all-time high that was significantly above the old all-time high. Look at this. Look how high Bitcoin went up above its old all-time high here before finally seeing a bear market in 2018. Now, how high silver is going to go? I have no idea, but this is a huge cup and handle. It looks exactly like Bitcoin back in the day. It could go pretty dang high before it finally stops going up because of the context of what's happening in the bigger cycle here on silver. It's pretty cool. So I'm a big silver guy. I love silver. I love gold. I'm really big on both of those commodities. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish on both of them for a bigger picture kind of move, for a bigger kind of growth, because they've been held down for so long. And you can't hold something down forever. There's going to be a point where you can't hold it down anymore, where it has to explode. And that's what we're seeing in silver and gold. What do you think about Doge 1 satellite? I don't know enough about it to have an opinion on it. Justin Landtrip says something like that on BTC, could argue about one of those 1 and 2s, but either way, stacked to Valhalla. Yeah, you just have to show me what you mean on a chart if you want to sometime. Jameson says, Jameson Binkowski says, what you think about Sologenic? Sologenic. Well, I hope that it's on more places than Poloniex it is. It's on Gate.io as well. If something is only on Poloniex or if something is only on one exchange, the danger of that is there isn't enough liquidity for a lot of growth. So you do want something to be on as many exchanges as possible. Something can be on only 1 or 2 exchanges and then get added to other exchanges later and then pump. So things can change. If it's not on multiple exchanges, that can change, and a coin could get added to like 4 or 5 other exchanges and then have plenty of liquidity. But that's something to look for when you're looking at new coins to buy. How many exchanges is it on? If it's on a lot of exchanges, if there's a lot of liquidity, if there's a big community, those are positive things in terms of how well the coin could do. And if there isn't a lot of exchanges, if there isn't a lot of community, then it could be something that's going to have a harder time getting the strength it needs to have a crazy run, you know. Here with Sologenic, this looks really good. It's on Gate.io, it's on Poloniex, it's on a few different exchanges. This looks really good. This is a pretty typical kind of thing. So if you look here at Sologenic, we have a big ABC here. wave A, wave B, wave C. Then we have another ABC right here. And by the way, this is exactly what Bitcoin did in 2018 and 2019 and 2020. If you look right here, Bitcoin did the same thing that Sologenic is doing right now. Big ABC, followed by a big ABC that goes back down to support before getting ready to push up to a new all-time high. So this looks really good on Sologenic. It's pretty much like buying Bitcoin during COVID drop in March of 2020. Same structure in this market. So cool, we're an hour and 5 minutes in. I'm going to call it a day. I know I didn't get to all of the requests or all of the questions that you guys asked. I'll do my best to get as many as I can next time, so make sure you tune in next week on Friday for another live stream. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Stay bullish, stay focused on the charts, stay excited, and I look forward to seeing you guys in future videos and in future live streams. And as always, stay profitable out there.